Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is about that time. Keep your hands up and keep your head on a swivel. The Haymakers and Submissions podcast is here. We woke up and chose violence today. Stick and stay for combat sports talk at its finest, coming your way now.
Welcome, everybody, to the Haymakers and Submissions podcast. My name is Drew. He's Chops, and we're talking all things combat sports. We'll be boxing focused today, Chops. We got a little bit of boxing to talk about. We got to catch up a little bit for the last couple of weeks. How you been?
I'm good, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We need to catch up. It's been good and bad for boxing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's good because talking about what could be in the future, what some of the bouts that could be set up. The bad part to me is we don't have anything going on right now. You know what I mean? So, and we're going to get into it because I'll be honest with you, man, even these what could be's, I've said it before in other podcasts, I'm not a fan of looking forward. I'm not a fan. I'm just not. And, you know, we'll get into that. But like I said, on the aspect, you know, of what we got going on, it's not the card back in February, you know, but that one we had. But we got a little bit of action coming up, you know, so I'm glad to see it. I'm just glad to see some not big names, but notable names, you know, fighting this weekend. So I'm ready, man. I'm ready to enjoy it. There's still not much going on in the MMA world. So, you know.
Well, we're going to be in Vegas, the PBC. It's going to be on Amazon Prime. Jermall Charlo and Caleb Plant, the main event and co-main event, respectively, possibly setting up something in the future. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's first talk about Jermall Charlo taking on Thomas LaManna in a super middleweight clash. So Charlo moving up from middleweight to fight at super middleweight against Thomas LaManna. And LaManna's got a nice record. He's 39-5-1 with 18 knockouts. Charlo undefeated, 33-0, Chops. But we haven't seen him in a while, have we?
Isn't it been like 18 months?
Yeah,
it's been a minute. I don't know if it's exactly 18 months, but it's been a minute.
Yeah, so he's only fought twice since September 2020.
Okay, so, wait, 2020?
He fought one. He's fought twice since then, and his last fight was back in late 23.
Wow, November.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So it's been a minute, man. Here's the thing, man. It really has. But before we actually get into the fight of this, you know, in the inside the ring type stuff, with Charlo, like I said, it's been 18 months. And I don't know why, but I'm not a fan of Charlo. You know, him or his brother. The skill set, the toolboxes we talk about, great. Not putting them phenomenal, but they're good. They're good. They're solid. You know what I mean? They've got the toolbox. But with your boy here, man, he has what has he had? He's had the DUI.
Yeah.
Is it the IBF who stripped him? Somebody had stripped him.
IBC did.
Okay, they had stripped him. He, just like your boy Ryan Garcia, has spoke about in this layoff his mental illness. Mental health. Now, there are some guys and people that have mental health issues that need to get it taken care of. I don't know if there are some people that fall back on mental health and try to make it sound like it's an issue when it's not. You know what I mean? Because now looking at it, whatever Garcia was going through, remember, because we said they shouldn't have fought him and Haney because we thought he was too off his rocker, just being honest with you. Yeah. But as soon as that was over, his mindset flipped. And like he said, I made you all think I was crazy. I made you all think I was crazy. So, and I'm not saying that Charlo's doing that, but you don't know when somebody's having issues and when they're not, you know. But with Charlo taking what, man, like a long layoff, let's not even try to do the math on a month. I don't feel like doing it. Had the DUI, he's gotten stripped. He was arguing with Caleb Plant. He slapped Plant or some, you know, doing a lot of, for the last X amount of months, year. So he's made more noise outside the ring than he has in, you know. So to me, as much as we need to see how he is with his hands, where is he mentally? You know what I mean? Where is he mentally in this fight? So we'll get into the actual X's and O's of it, the fight plan. But that's what I want to see. Where is he mentally after the second or third round? Or even if it happens at first, if he gets stung, if he gets in any sort of trouble, or if it's not going as smoothly as it should, in his corner, I don't want to say bark, they're giving orders, they're following the game plan. Is he following them? Is he abandoning? Just, you know what I'm saying? What was it, Jesse Ferguson? Was it Jesse Ferguson who had basically the meltdown in the ring? Not saying he's anything like that. I'm not putting him in that category.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see how he functions. First time back, you know what I mean? I give his team credit because I think LaManna, however you pronounce it, I think it's perfect. I think he's a perfect candidate or perfect opponent. You know what I mean? But my biggest thing is, how does Charlo look mentally?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what do you mean? How does he look mentally? What's his body language? If there's any adversity, how does he handle it? That's what I'm interested to see.
Yeah, it's huge. Like you said, there's been a lot of evidence that we've seen from November 2023 when he last fought. That's right around that time that he got the DUI. Well, I think it was actually in 2024 when they stripped him of that in May. Yeah. I mean, shit happens. A lot of people get that. Doesn't mean you have a mental illness. It means
exactly.
I'm just.
Yeah. So I was wondering, when he says that and talks about his own mental illness, where did that come from? What was going on that I don't know, man. I just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see in the ring. Right. And
I hate to say mental illness. I meant mental health.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. It is what it is. I mean, it's how do people cope with the things that happen in life? I mean, that's another show for another podcast,
Yeah.
In terms of boxing, yeah, it's critical. Does he still have that killer instinct? Does he still have that drive to win and be a champion again? Those are huge questions. I mean,
and here's the thing why I even question that, because it's not like even though Errol Spence caused it himself with that drunken driving accident, it's not like he had broken his hand in a fight, needed surgery. It's not like he twisted a knee, ripped ligaments. It's not like he had the long layoff because of health concerns. He had the long layoff because that's what he wanted. Regardless if that's what he wanted, it wasn't because of the ring. He didn't get hurt in battle. You know what I mean? So I'm interested to see. That's what I want to see mentally. And he talked about his mental health after he gets the DUI.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's what I don't get. I find it hard. I've known some guys that have gotten DUIs.
Me too.
When you got busted in DUI, that's not the first time you driven drunk. First time you got caught. You know what I'm saying? So what made his mental health come to the forefront now? Was it the fact he got caught? Is he getting stripped? I don't know. And I don't know, is this something he felt? If I say mental health, you can't talk bad about someone who has mental health issues. I don't know if that's the game he's playing. I don't know. I don't know. So that's where I'm interested to see how he looks on the mental health side of it.
I mean, he's a heavy favorite in the fight. We figured that. And it's not like LaManna's a tomato can. He's ranked, and we'll talk about him, shortly, but he's a ranked contender for the WBA. But at the same time, it's a good opponent because, you look ahead and he doesn't want to look past LaManna, but obviously it's expected he takes care of business. What's next for him then? I mean, and I'll put him back up on the screen. I mean, Charles, he's 30. He's actually 33-0. I mean, he's got a beautiful record. I mean, it's
yes. You record-wise put it up against who's who in boxing. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
without question.
22 knockouts. I was big fans of both of him and his brother, and they both took layoffs. Jermall a lot longer, obviously, and when I don't get to see them fight, I mean, I start losing interest, but I really enjoy watching both of them fight. So I'm excited to see him back in the ring, and I hope he does well because I am a fan. I like their style. Like you said, they don't do anything great, but they do everything well. They're good fighters. They don't run. They engage. They've got power, not like crazy power, but good power. And they know how to box, and they're both champions. So I'm looking forward to it. He is coming up in weight a little bit. Now, obviously, I'm going to the 168 now. But I don't think that's going to be a big deal. I mean, that's where a Jermall spot for a while. So I don't think that's going to be a big deal. But the inactivity does concern me, and like it does you. So I don't know. What do you think? What are you anticipating seeing from him?
I don't know. Now, okay, because you said the word anticipate, not what do I want to see. You said anticipate. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what to anticipate because it's been such a long layoff. Again, if it had been a layoff, the knee. If it had been a layoff, a hand or surgery, that's something else. If he'd have been coming off a terrible knockout, if he's on a 5-6 win streak by big knockouts, and you can anticipate something in that aspect. I don't know what to anticipate in this, man. I really don't. I really don't.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I'm definitely with you on that. So maybe the better question is, what do you want to see from him?
Okay. I don't know. And here's why I say that. Okay. I told you a couple of weeks ago, I'm not a fan of them telling boxers, if you win this one, who your next opponent is. Remember, we talked about they didn't do that years and years ago. They didn't do that. Mm-mm. Everybody thought if Druzynski and Chops both win, they'll be fighting next. And that's what people hoped. That's what people wanted to see. Now promoters are telling guys, if you win, that's the next fight. Well, if that's the next fight, why are you giving us tune-ups? We don't need tune-ups most of the time. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, if we didn't learn anything from May 2nd in New York, I don't know what else to tell you. You know what I'm saying? And we talked about it. Both of those guys, Garcia and Haney, were looking forward to what was up. Haney ran and won. Neither one of them looked good. And then your boy Garcia loses. Neither guy looked good. Even Haney in the win took a lot more ridicule, right? And now because of that, they both lost out on a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And to me, when you do that, tell guys this is the next fight, more bad can happen than good. And I say that because if Garcia had beaten Rolly, Haney had won, it's still in line to see what we expected the rematch. If they had knocked each other out, if they had knocked their opponents out, they're going to talk more trash, which they've been talking. And all Garcia was going to go back to is whoever you just fought, he don't hit like me. He don't have a left hook like I do. Bill Haney's going to get back into Garcia. So if they'd have won, that's what happened. Now they've lost. They both lost status, right? Even though your boy Haney won, he didn't look spectacular and win. Oh, no. So he's taking a hit to his reputation. Nobody wants to see the rematch. They both lost money. So again, more bad can happen than good can happen from doing that. All right. Yeah. And let's not forget. Okay, so we saw those two guys looking ahead. They lost their fight. You remember Joshua was supposed to fight Deontay Wilder after he beat Parker, and he lost. You know what I'm saying? So, we're both big-time football fans, huge. Mm-hmm. And in football, they'll say if your Detroit Lions are rolling, whatever it may be rolling, and they have in 2 weeks, you got your biggest division rival. But this week, you got the tomato can of the group called a trap game. Yeah. Don't overlook. See, you have to play that game. You have to play this week's game. You have to play who's in front of you. That's why coaches drive it home. Don't look forward. Don't look ahead. That's what these guys are doing in boxing. And it's not fair to them, and it's not fair to us, the fan, because we're not getting the best fighter we can get because they're not focused on this guy because they assume he should be a walkthrough opponent and they don't get, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I don't like it. So what I expect, I don't know. What I want to see, I think Charlo needs some rounds. I think he needs some rounds. Hold on. Let me hold off on that. What do you expect? What do you expect? And let me hear what you want to see before I go. So what do you expect?
What I want to see, I expect to see ring rust a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm expecting a slower start. Size-wise, they're almost identical. I think it's weird. I read LaManna was 2 inches taller, and then I read they're the same height. They have the same reach. So there's really a height advantage. They're both orthodox fighters. They both pretty much, I mean, they're gonna exchange. So I expect Charlo to, I think he's gonna, before he gets real aggressive, I think he's gonna try and get some rounds under maybe the first 2 or 3 rounds before he starts getting more aggressive on the offensive front. Unless, of course, LaManna pushes the issue, which, who knows, maybe he will. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea. If I have a guy in front of me who hasn't fought in 18 months and only twice in the last almost 5 years, maybe I might put on a rush and really put on some heat in the first round, see if he's up for it, because he's a long shot to win anyways. But I would hope that by the middle rounds, Charlo starts taking over. I don't expect him to knock LaManna out, to be honest with you, but I do expect him to look convincingly the winner. I expect him to look by the end of the fight that you're feeling pretty good about, okay, that's a good fight. Now he's going to get another camp in, and whoever the next opponent is, then we're going to see the old Jermall Charlo again. That's what I'm hoping for.
Okay. Now, of course, you and I agree on a lot of things, but there's some things we talk about and we don't agree on. Now, this, in some cases, I don't agree. And here's why, right? Mm-hmm. Because I'll be honest with you. Charlo has 22 knockouts in 33 fights. So I consider him, I'm not going to say a knockout artist, but he knocks people out. You know what I mean? He gets his KOs. He gets his power. Mm-hmm. Now, again, moving up in weight. So guys are used to taking that punishment or taking that power. Okay, I get it. Now, but he, as in Charlo, has had 18 months, a while to move up to 168. So he had a chance to do it naturally. Yeah. So stuck in this way, it's probably not been as big a deal. Okay. LaManna has no head movement. His head doesn't come off the line. He basically is fighting. You know how people, they used to make fun of certain people, like, it looks like he's running on a treadmill. No matter how much he runs, he doesn't go anywhere. LaManna, whatever you want to say, he doesn't move. His head is always going to be where it is. Now, you're right on the aspect of challenging him because he hasn't fought but twice in over last almost 5 years. So I get that. And this could come down to hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, because Charlo definitely has more talent. He definitely has more talent. Dude, like I said, LaManna doesn't move his head. And to me, don't be surprised if LaManna tries to make it a war from the opening bell and try to come at him and don't do the feel-out process for a round or two. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if he got clipped and got knocked down. Not knocked out first round, but knocked down, or at least caught with some good shots. Because if you don't resort back to anything, Charlo, your skill set should be enough to get you through the first round. You know what I mean? If you listen to the camp, then everything we worked on, then you go from there.
Sure.
But because LaManna doesn't move his head much, and it's not like he's throwing a popping, blistering left jab, or a Larry Holmes jab, or a Frazier hook, or a Ryan Garcia. He doesn't have any of that in his toolbox.
No.
So I'm expecting to see LaManna get KO'd because he doesn't move much. And if it goes, I'm going to just be honest with you. If this sees the beginning of the 8th round, and it's scheduled for 10, mm-hmm. and LaManna's last fight, I think, was like 6 rounds. It wasn't much.
No.
So if he is in Charlo, can't get this guy out, if it sees, I want to say the 7th, but if it sees the middle of the 7th round, I think it's a loss for Charlo. Unless he whitewashes, no, because the guy doesn't move his head, and Charlo has power. I'll be honest with you. If I'm going to go 6. If this fight sees the end of the 6th, I think it's a bad look for Charlo because the guy doesn't move his head. Mm-hmm. You're moving up, so you have more power. This guy's never been a real threat. He's a 14-1 dog. LaManna is a 14-1 dog, and there's a reason because of that. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't move his head. He doesn't have a whole lot of power. But the crazy part is, LaManna is saying if he beats Charlo, he's calling for Canelo. Of course, everybody at 168 is calling for the Canelo. That's the guy to bring you the biggest payday and a check. But that's the problem with boxing. The fact that he can sit there and say that with a straight look on his face, and people even acknowledge it, and that's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So if this sees the beginning of the 7th, I think it's unless he makes his face look like hamburger and he's just dominating them and doing whatever he wants, and LaManna shows the heart of a lion and just refuses to fall. If this sees the beginning of the 7th, to me, it is a bad night for Charlo. And Charlo can lose the first. If he loses one out of the first 4 rounds, I could see it. He loses 2 out of the first 4. I don't think that's a beautiful thing, because Charlo, if nothing else, he should be able to go back to that jab.
Yeah,
he's always had a nice jab and a long jab. Now again, his reach is the same as LaManna, so there's not a whole lot of advantage here. But LaManna's he's not getting his head off the line. He's going to be there.
Yeah.
So that's where you and I disagree, brother. If he sees the beginning of the 7th, I think it's a bad night because of who your opponent is. You know what I'm saying?
I would like to see your scenario play out. And I think I guess it's like anything in life. We got to temper our expectations. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, if it happens the way you say it's going to go down, that'd be awesome. But I'll be surprised if it does, just because I just think he's going to start slow.
If LaManna was a guy who moved, had no power, but he was crafty, he was shifty. If he at his weight class was what Roach was to Davis, right? Mm-hmm. Roach could move, Roach could box, Roach could slip, whatever have you, right? Yeah. I would get it. That get the rounds in, and he could be, I don't want to say trouble, but he could be something to make Charlo think about what he's doing. But again, that's why I go back and I credit his team, because his team picked a guy who's going to be there. You don't have to worry about where is he going to be. You're not going to worry about him throwing something and moving and cutting off angles. You're not going to have to worry about that with LaManna. That's the only reason why I'm saying, if you want to see your fighter after a long layoff get in the rounds, you do want to see that. But LaManna has some power. And at 168, now Charlo's about to be hit like he's never been hit before. True. You know what I mean? So I'd like to see Charlo get in the rounds, and only because I want to see Charlo and Plant is why I'm hoping Charlo wins. Mm-hmm. But again, man, if it goes to 7th, if it sees the beginning of 7th, unless he is dominating him, make his face look like hamburger, just beating up the body, I think it's a bad look for Charlo. Because if you can't get this guy out, or this guy goes a distance with you, and you about to bang in there with Plant, that's going to be trouble, big dog. Trouble.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would like to see, like you said, like your scenario play out. Let's see it. That's a long layoff, man.
And big dog, again, Drew, because styles make fights, and LaManna's head is always there to be hit, and he doesn't have a lot of power. I mean, he's not a devastating puncher. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So having said that, that is why. And then think about it. Laura knocked him out. Laura had he got some power in his hands and knocked him out first round.
Yeah.
First round.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, again, I'm not saying Charlo's on his game like Laura was at the time. However, LaManna and as much as I'm not a Charlo fan, regardless, even though we've seen Inoue knocked down, we've seen fighters like LaManna. Charlo's never touched the canvas. So you got to give it. Even if I'm not a Charlo fan, if you're not liking him as much as you used to, we still got to give him his respect on that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I'm interested to see. I do think he needs to come in and work behind his jab, because if he isn't Charlo can have, and you're smart enough to know this, if you can have success with that jab's doing 2 things. You're finding your range and your timing is on point. You're finding your range and your timing is on point. You feel so much more confident throwing everything else because you know where he is. You know what I mean? So if he can pop that jab and the double jab, I think it'll be that's really what I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, really. I love the jab. I honestly think it's the most important punch in boxing because
without question,
it sets the table for everything. And boxers that don't use their jab effectively, you better have one hell of an answer somewhere else because it's very important. I mean, you change it's like pitching almost. You change your levels, you change your speed. Sometimes you can throw jabs that have bad intentions. You could throw range finding jabs. You could throw jabs because we've both been hit. It's one thing they just get hit. It's another thing they get hit soft and then hard.
Yeah. Yes.
That jacks you up.
Yes. Now, here's what I'm interested in seeing. Let's go because bullets are flying both ways. Let's see what happens. If LaManna catches him with a good shot, how does he eat it? Does he have mental health issues where he starts questioning himself? Does he go back to whatever made him take off 14, 18 months? Does he go back into that mental hole and not being able to get out? So and is he looking forward? Because let's not forget about it, Big Dog. Over the last 2-3 months, we ain't been talking about LaManna and Charlo. It's been about Charlo and Plant. Do you realize Charlo and Plant at the last press conference, where they're not even fighting each other, they married the hatchet, and that made more noise and more stories than Charlo and LaManna.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Charlo's head? And is our friend Claudio Rosano said wrote the book. It was on baseball, but from the neck up. Boxing's mental. It's mental. So I'm interested to see where he, as in Charlo, is mentally. So we'll see.
Going to be an interesting fight for sure.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about that main event now. Caleb Plant, Armando Resendiz for the interim super middleweight title fight. It's kind of like being the intercontinental champion in WWE. You've got a belt. Not the world championship belt, but
correct.
It's title. But Armando Resendiz, 15-2 with 11 KOs going against Sweet Hands Caleb Plant, 23-2 with 14 knockouts. Chops, your thoughts on this one?
Okay. Well, where do we even begin? And I say that because Caleb Plant has the tougher opponent out of Resendiz and LaManna.
Yes.
He too is a decent favorite, a nice favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, you have to give Plant his dues, because win or lose, he's coming to fight. Plant is always coming to fight. He's coming to throw the leather, and wherever it goes, he's willing to go there. And that's what I expect from this one. That's really what I expect from this one. And that I'm expecting to see fireworks on this one. And this is what I am anticipating. You know what I mean? So what about you? What do you?
Yeah, I would agree with that because, like you said, Plant comes to fight, and Resendiz is no stranger to boxing in the phone booth. I mean, he likes to throw punches in bunches, like you say a lot too. Watch some of those tapes. He can throw. So yeah, that's exciting. But to get to your the odds though, Plant is a minus 2,500 to win this fight.
Wow.
And it's Resendiz is a plus 1,000. So yeah, huge. I mean, basically, it's their Vegas is basically saying it's not about if, it's when. But
this is why they fight. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. You know what I mean? So, and when you look at it, his losses, Elijah Garcia, right back in 23, Resendiz lost, and to Hernandez. Not big names. You know what I mean? Now, he also has 11 KOs, but when you have 17 fights, that's all you have. And it's kind of weird because he, as in Plant, only has 7-8 more fights, and he just seems so much more experienced.
Well, he's got 25 to his 17, so he's got a decent amount more. So
yeah, he does. But when you hear 25 and 17, that's 8 fights. But then you think about Caleb Plant, think about and what that name brings and how you know it compared to Resendiz. You would just assume it just feels like there's more than 8 fights difference there. You know what I'm saying? But
there's
when you look at the
difference in age, so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, and I get why both camps set up these opponents, and I know why your boy Charlo's doing this. I don't really understand why he, as in Plant, is doing this. And I only say that because, yes, he hasn't fought since September. So that's become a long layoff.
Mm-hmm.
But he should have pushed to me to try to get Charlo to fight this a little earlier. Then he could have still fought. He is in Plant, fought Charlo in July or August. You know what I mean? And still not been a year. Mm-hmm. He could have done that, but he didn't. So I don't know how I don't know what I think about this, man. And I understand again why Charlo's team wanted a tune-up. Plant really didn't need it. And again, you have more to lose. You know what I mean? With a tune-up. Charlo needs a tune-up because you've been off 18 months. Yeah. You don't take off 18 months and come back against a Plant. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But also in the same token, since you've been off for 18 months and your name has been nothing, why are you feuding with Plant? That's what I didn't get from the beginning anyway.
I think it's more to get his name mentioned. I think that's the quickest way to do it, is to cause some static with somebody, right?
But why did they remember Ryan Garcia did that a few years ago when he was suspended? Why are you arguing? Gervonta Davis and Bud Crawford were going back and forth. You guys aren't even in the same weight class. What are you doing? So that's some of this new school stuff and these young kids do that I'm not a fan of. But I'll be honest with you, man. I look for Plant to win about late 6th, early 7th. I'll be surprised if either one of these sees the 8th round. Either one of these finds the 8th round. And that's only because now here's what I don't like. Wouldn't you say Canelo and Benavidez are Caleb Plant's biggest names? We know Canelo is. We know that.
Yeah.
We know that. Now, you can take pride in saying you went to the 11th round with Canelo. However, I think he was Canelo's last stoppage.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Right.
So then I ask, was he starting to get Canelo on his downside of his prime? And only because Canelo's still been fighting and doing well. He's not knocking anybody out. Canelo was hurting guys. He's not hurting anybody. He's not knocking guys out. So, and he'll say, I've been in there. I went 11 with Canelo. You did. You did.
Yep.
But then you get bombarded and didn't get knocked out, but you lost
convincingly
to Benavidez. Yep. You know what I'm saying?
Which I would expect all day long.
Yes. So, but he as in, Plant, he's been in there with some big names. And I'm not saying he's as good as he's gotten, but he represented himself well. You know what I mean? He did get I don't want to say demolished, but he was the clear-cut loser against Benavidez, and he got taken out in the 11th by Canelo. No shame in either one of those names.
No way.
But just from what I know of Plant, what I believe his toolbox is, I got to go with Plant. I'm going to go with Plant, and I'll be surprised if it sees the beginning of the 8th, and I'll damn sure be surprised if it sees the end of the 8th.
Yeah, I've got him in 7.
Okay, so we're about the same.
Yeah, pretty much. But to talk about Resendiz just briefly here, he doesn't have a huge resume. He actually fought in February, defeated Fernando Paliza. He got a TKO in the 5th round. Probably a tune-up for this. He is ranked. He's 15th in the WBA. I got that off boxlive.com. There's my source, but that he is ranked. I watched his fight against Hurd from a while back. And I was pretty impressed with how he stood in there. He's got some ability inside. If he can he's going to have to fight inside, but Plant's fast. But, he's got some ability.
He does, and I'm glad you mentioned that point because I'm not saying it's bad as LaManna, but you notice in that fight, he doesn't have a whole lot of make you miss. He doesn't have a whole lot of movement. When he's in the pocket, he's not using the shoulder roll. He's not using the Philly shell and avoiding contact. He is willing to take your one or two so he can get his off. Yeah. And that's okay because there's levels to this. I don't think he can do that with somebody from Plant. Now, he's got a nice uppercut, as well LaManna has nice uppercuts. And that, real quick, I don't want to go. LaManna has a real nice uppercut. That, to me, if he can land that on Charlo, what will happen? But, again, we already covered him, so I don't want to go back to him. But because Resendiz gives as good as he gets, that could be what takes him out of there because he's willing to stand in the pocket, and you are who you are. And he's been able to stand in the pocket so much with other guys. They haven't been Caleb Plant. You know what I mean? So that, to me, could be the difference. I just think if he fights that, because that's the only way he knows is going to stand in there, and he's 32 years old. No, 28. You're not going to –
well, Plant's 32.
No, not Plant. I'm telling Resendiz. What is he, 28?
26, I believe, actually.
Okay. So, but whatever it is, after these 17 fights he's had, you're not all of a sudden going to become Mayweather. You're not all of a sudden going to become Pernell Whitaker and it's not going to happen.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So you're going to do, and even if they tried for this last camp to have some make you miss, let's shock the world with a different style, okay. But I don't think he has the discipline, the mindset to stick with that. As soon as Plant comes after him, and he will, as soon as he comes after him and sticks him, you go back to what you know. You know what I'm saying? I just think you go back to what you know.
You know,
and he's going to stand in the pocket with Plant, and I think that's going to be his downfall. And I would like to go 6, but since you said 7, I'll say if it sees the 8th, I'll be shocked, man. I really will. And does Plant even want the rounds? He doesn't need the rounds.
No.
You know what I mean? Get in, get out, look good in this one to secure your spot, secure your bag for the next fight.
Yeah, I think he's going to get him in the body early because he's gonna allow it. But Plant, I mean, let's face it. I mean, you can try to think offense all you want, but when those ribs get hit and that liver, those arms come down quick, and then that head gets exposed. And I think that's the answer right there. It could go earlier than that. I expect it to go earlier than that. To me, Caleb Plant, I'd like to see him be impressive in this one, honestly. And I think a knockout in this one would definitely send a good message to fight fans because you want to sell this fight. Let's talk about that because now we're talking the natural progression here is to get Jermall Charlo and Caleb Plant in the ring together. Awesome. I would love to see that fight, but I want to see them at their best. I don't want to see I didn't really like the version. I mean, it's probably part of it's because of Canelo. Canelo's one of the best ever, but I didn't like that version of Caleb Plant. And we certainly want to see the Jermall Charlo of old. We don't, and that's what we're looking for. What a fight that would be. But your thoughts, you think that's going to happen?
Wow. Okay. So as of right now, we're both going under the premise, both guys win, secure to get it set up for later this year. Now, will that be later this year?
You would hope. You would hope. But honestly, you're talking it'd have to be December.
Okay. Oh, okay. So now you got me thinking because I was like, it'd have to be this year. We're in May, right? They're fighting this in May, 6 months, because neither one of them that should be in a war. So they should be able to do this by December. But if they don't, that pushes Charlo's inactivity back even further over the last 3, 4, 5 years. Okay. Now, let's say they both hold serve. We're looking to see this fight. Okay. Regardless of when it happens, right now, I think Plant is not the better. I don't think he's a better athlete than Charlo. Mm-hmm. But I think his skill set is better. It's been more impressive the way he fights, the way he comes. Now, I'm not saying his jab is sharper, but the way he puts everything together, the way he brings it. Now, again, but here's the thing. And we have to say that because we haven't seen Charlo fight in 18 months.
Yeah.
Now, if Charlo comes out and does what he's supposed to do and looks good, gets him out of there in 3 or 4 and removes all doubt, we could be back on to something. Because we know here down he's good. He's got it. He's got the skill set. We ain't worried about that. What is it? What's going on up here? That's the thing. In 18 months, here's the thing. In ring rust, you mentioned that earlier, and we know ring rust is huge. But why does a fighter have ring rust?
Mm-hmm.
In this case, like we said, it's not because of injury. Yeah. He was stripped. He gets DUIs. He's talking about his mental health. I don't know, man. And to me, let's put it this way. If Plant, either one of them, let's say Plant, let's be the more likely. Say Plant wins in dominating fashion, gets him out of there in 5. Now you have Charlo, who wins, and maybe he wins 116, 112, 115, 113, but it goes the distance. Do you think the fight fans still want to see that fight in December?
Well, it wouldn't be for a $70 or $80 pay-per-view. No.
Shouldn't be.
No. But I mean, something like on Prime for $29.99, maybe. I don't.
Yeah.
That's possible. As fight fans, I mean, if I'm wrong, correct me. We want to see this fight. I mean, because they're both good fighters, and we're certainly very familiar with them. But yeah, will the average fan want to? Well, they're both pretty. They're names. I mean,
well, here's the thing. Mm-hmm. If this could have taken place 9-10 months ago, it would have been more interesting to me.
Yeah,
to me, because Charlo hadn't had such a long layoff, a year layoff. Almost a year. People, we see that. Do your thing
almost all the time now.
Yes, but why they're beefing, why they're arguing, even when they're in the heat of it, and Charlo slaps them. Okay, fine, let's get it on. But now they buried a hatchet, this, that, and whatever. Why are we burying the hatchet? We're about to fight and this, that. Man, to me, I think if Charlo doesn't look good, if he doesn't look good, I don't know how you'll be able to sell this. I really don't. Because we know what Plant is. So even if Plant comes out and wins in spectacular fashion, we knew that's what we were getting from him. Mm-hmm. Now we got your boy, Charlo. If he doesn't come out and win convincingly, do they want to see that? It'll be interesting, man. It'll be interesting. You know what I mean? Because and this is where I said I'm excited and not so excited about boxing. Because right off the rip, I can name you 3 or 4 fights that I'd still like to see before the end of the year. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Of course, we want to see Roach and Davis run it back, right? Yep. We want to see Roach and Davis run it back. Just to see, because they don't like each other and see how it goes, I'd like to see Haney and Garcia run it back. It's not going to be an $80 pay-per-view, but I'd still like to see them run it back. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we got Canelo and Crawford. Okay, great. Fine, there, so be it, right? But then when you look at some of these other cats, will Boots fight Tio, right? Can Murtazaev come in there and fight maybe Tio? Because Tio could fight for any belt. He's calling out Boots, whatever have you. But there are certain fights right off the rip that I'd like to see. You know what I mean? So, and again, would Berlanga and Bivol make a good fight? Would Benavidez and there's fights out there we could see. Now, it kills me because that quick after February, nobody's talking about these guys. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We still haven't – a date hasn't been set yet, has it? On Usyk and your boy, the guy who lost to Usyk. Dubois. Yeah. Has there been a date set on that?
Yeah, there is. And I will look that up. But
because that's something we could see. So there's fights out there that we could really be interested in seeing if this one gets to go down. Now, so and there's other fights out there, man. Brian Norman Jr. He's talking about Boots, but there's other fights for him out there as well. You know what I mean? So there's other fights that could go down if this
July 19th, by the way. That's the Usyk.
July 19th?
Yep, Usyk.
Okay. So we got that one. But there's fights out there, man. There are definitely fights out there that we'd be interested in seeing on how they go, how they shake out, and where everything goes from here. You know what I mean? What's going to go with Pitbull? What's going to go on with Tim Zoo? So I'm interested.
Well, that's a good segue into one of our favorites, Abdullah Mason. And he wants to challenge for a lightweight title belt, quote, soon, unquote. So, got a few questions here on the table. And the first one is, in your opinion, is he ready for that, Chops? Is he ready to take on one of the lightweight title holders?
No, not yet. And as much as you know me, I'm a Mason guy. I like Mason.
Yep.
But the problem with that is we haven't even seen him fight a top 10 guy yet, I don't believe.
No.
And he's gotten caught. He's tasted the canvas. Now, like a true champ in a come-up, he has done what he's needed to do and fought through and still got the knockout. So you could say he's battle-tested so far with who they have put in front of him. However, would I like to see him fight one top 10 guy before they give him a title shot? Absolutely. Absolutely. But then when you're doing that, Zepeda and Shakur are already set, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, they're already set. So now he talked about Keyshawn, right? But now let's say if you got like Lamont Roach, he's already set up to fight Davis. Let's see him go to Frank Martin or Matella. Those guys are still in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. He could fight Baranchek or Josh Padley, right? That rounds out the top 10 for most people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But if he fights Baranchek and he doesn't look as impressive and get him out of there like Keyshawn Davis did, does that drop his stock? You know what I'm saying? So that's the only thing. But then when you put him against a guy like Muratalla or Frank Martin, there's experience there. But how can you justify, he's only 20 years old, Mason, but how do you justify putting a young kid for a title shot already, right? Because if you're looking at the title, right, you got Davis, he's already scheduled to run it back with Roach, right? Now you got Vasily, did he get stripped? But Vasily's still up there, but he hasn't fought. So that might be good because Vasily hasn't fought in a long time. He's getting up in age, so he can't take too many more tune-up fights. So to fight a guy who's not even in the top 10, that might be right up Vasily's his alley. That might be that. I'd like to see that one because it's speed and youth against wisdom and knowledge. Because Vasily has, so I'd like to see that one. Zepeda and Shakur, 3-4, 4-3, depending on who you're talking to in the ranking. And then you got Keyshawn. Now, Keyshawn Davis also holds a belt. I thought they were boys, but they're not because he said he's ready to fight Davis or whomever. Okay. Now, if you're going to give him a shot at the title, I don't even know who do you want to, who of those guys I just named do you want to fight?
I have a thought on that, but I don't want to see it right now. I want to see it in about 3 years. Is Shakur?
Here's the thing.
Because I want to see Mason get stronger. I think he's a young 20, man. And he's a good fighter, but he's got power, but he's a little reckless. And I'd like to see him just kind of strengthen up a little bit and get a little tighter in his defense and then how he delivers. And I think he's going to be an awesome fighter. I think he's Keyshawn Davis, but needs 3 years to get to where Keyshawn is now. That's how I see him.
Now, but here's the thing, and I'm interested to see where he and his team's heads are. I sort of know because in an interview he had said Tyson won it at 21, so I can win a title earlier than he did. So I don't think he's waiting for those 3 years. Now, here's the question. Until I see something different from Shakur with his running and boring style, 3 years, 33 years, I'm not interested in seeing Shakur fight. I'm really not. Now, Zepeda is going to be interesting because Zepeda brings it. Oh, yeah. Zepeda makes you fight. Yes. If Shakur Stevenson can make this fight a boring fight, who's ever going to want to see him fight again? You know what I'm saying? Yep. So because he's still not even ranked as Mason, and I love the guy, I love the kid, he needs at least one top 10 fight before you can put him in there for a belt. To me.
And then in that thought, at least in that vein of thought, then that's at least 2 years possibly from now. where you'd fight in a year, that top 10 guy, and then the next fight would be, you would maybe be for a strap, and that I don't, maybe that's only 6 months. I don't know.
Well, you're absolutely right, because I don't know when I don't even know if he's scheduled to fight again. However, let's say for sake of argument, he could get something done and fight by Thanksgiving, maybe. Because if you start talking to somebody now, you could get it ironed out in camp and fight by Thanksgiving. And if he could do that, he could already have somebody he'd like to call out for the belt, and they get in there, and they possibly be in there by June. So within a year, we could see it. We could. I doubt it, because that's not how guys move anymore.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So, but I think it could be. But ideally, the way you're speaking and the way fighters go, I could see the 2 years. Mm-hmm. But when you put it on wax in an interview, Tyson won it at 21. I'm 20. I know it. You're taking that 2 years out of it. But what are you going to do? Because I don't know what your rank is. I'd assume he's probably ranked in the top 15. And that's what your boy Resendiz is. He's 15 going against Caleb. So it could be done. But
Mason's ranked pretty high. The IBF has him low at 15. And the WBA doesn't have him ranked, but this is according to Box Live. He's number 4 in the WBC and number 2 in the WBO.
How?
Isn't that crazy?
How?
18-0.
At 130.
Yeah.
I was looking at 135, guys. My bad.
Okay.
My bad. That is. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Okay.
So he's legit. I mean,
without question.
I would hate. It's like, I guess, like I think about it in terms of any sport. I don't want a 21-year-old throwing 200 innings in baseball. You know, yeah. I don't want a 21-year-old throwing 100 pitches every game. You know, there's rare exceptions to that. Mr. Skeens in Pittsburgh might be one of them, right? I mean, you know, it's just one of those things. So I'd hate to rush him when it's not necessary, because I just think he's good. He's just a hell of a fighter. I don't want to see him get wrecked.
Well, you're right. You're true. But hold on, big dog. If he's talking about Keyshawn, is he looking to move up to 135? Maybe he's looking to move up to 135. I don't know.
I mean, that'd be easy for him, I would think.
Oh, yeah, because as young as he is,
mm-hmm.
without question, yeah. We'll see, though, man. We'll see. I mean, I definitely want to see the young buck go. I just don't know if he indeed is ready yet. For now, at the 135 guys, I named no. But when you talk, hold on, big dog. On that, what you were just looking at,
mm-hmm.
what weight class did they have him in?
Lightweight.
Okay.
Lightweight. Yep.
And the lightweight is 135.
Mm-hmm.
That's 135 weight. Wow. Because in the one I had, follow me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
135 lightweight. I had Gervonta. I had Steele. I see Lomo, Shakur, Zepeda, Keyshawn, Roach.
Yep.
Murtazaev, Padley. We talked about. You know, so and I'm trying to think the two others, but I didn't even have Mason in my top 10.
And most
real quick, who do you? They said they had him 2. Could you read me off the one where they had him at? Who they have in their top 10 and that where they had him at 2?
WBO. Yeah, Keyshawn's champ, Sam Noakes, and then Mason, and then Gabe Flores, Chris Muafo, Yadier Herrera, Baranchek, Alan Chavez, Jose Matias, Andy Cruz, and then Albert Bell.
Big dog. Think about the guys I just named. Not one of those guys were in there. How can we even take that serious?
I know it's crazy. Now I go by the ring ones. The ring has it's Tank, Keyshawn, Shakur, Zepeda, Murzaila, Cruz, Martin, Baranchek, Farmer, and Noakes.
They don't even have where'd they have Keyshawn Davis?
2.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Where did you see Mason at 15. What list was that? Was that Ring?
No. I just saw it. He was actually at 4 in the WBC.
Who they have before him and 1 or 2 after him?
So Shakur as the champ, Zepeda as the interim title, and then Andy Cruz, Ricardo Nunez, Sam Noakes, Mason, then Frank Martin, and then Yadier Herrera.
How you not gonna? I mean,
I don't. These rankings are all over the place.
Yeah. And here's the thing: if you have Roach in there, and I honestly, Roach showed up and did well against Davis, but it's still hard for me to rank you in the top 10 at 135 because I need to see more than one fight at 135. You know what I mean? I give you your demand at 130 and you hold a belt, and I get it that maybe in our top 10s we could have 1 or 2 guys, maybe 3 guys, different rankings, or maybe I have a guy or 2 in there that you don't. You have them 11 and 12 or something. But some of these are having guys that aren't even in anybody else's top 10. So that's hard for me to get. But see, this is why boxing has these issues.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and I'll be honest with you, man. Okay, so real quick, making your top 10 at 135, where do you put Abdullah Mason?
Not in the top 10.
Okay, so, but you feel comfortable in the top 15?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, me too. So, but that's why I'm saying give him. Here's the thing. If he could call out a champ, fine, do your thing. I don't think you're ready because at 20 years old is 20 years old. I don't care. Unless you are an extremely devastating puncher, 20 years old is 20 years old. Yes. So when you move up the champion style and championship level, that's a different cat. That's a different breed. That's a different cat. So you got to watch out for that. Mm-hmm. So if he could get one to fight him, okay, fine, so be it. And I would have said the one who would have been best would have been if he could have gotten Shakur, only because he doesn't have to worry about getting knocked out. He can worry about getting outpointed, but you can chase somebody all day. You're not worried about getting knocked out.
Yeah,
all those other champs, he could worry about walking into something.
That's exactly why I had him picked. If I was going to cherry pick the one guy I think he'd have the best opportunity to beat in 2 or 3 years, it would be Shakur, assuming he'd still be where he's at, because I believe he could chase him down and be able to give and take with him. But right now, I think Shakur would just embarrass him and make it like what Haney did last fight. Honestly, I mean, it would be kind of ridiculous. You got to know how to cut it's not about the athleticism as much as it is about understanding angles and cutting.
Cutting that ring off. Yeah. That could be interesting. Man, so yes, I'm a Mason guy, so I want to see him fight bigger and better competition. He's been hot in his last few fights. He hasn't fought a top 10 guy, so that's why I'd want to say, no, you're not ready. Even like Plant fighting Resendiz, top 15 guy. Mm-hmm. You fight Resendiz, then you fight Charlo. Resendiz is 15. Charlo, and what are they fighting at 168? Yeah. He's not even ranked.
No.
So this is more personal than what the business aspect of it for where the money is. So Plant, you fighting this 15 guy to then make way for Charlo, okay, but that's not what we true boxing fans want to see. You fight this guy and beat him at 15. My next fight is another top 10. I'd like to see a top 5, top 6 guy, to be honest with you. You know, him and Plant. But if we're talking Mason, get a top 15 win, and that's the thing that would be interesting. You get a top 15 win. How you win, if you win, how you look will be do we give this cat a title fight? Do we, you know what I mean, whatever have you? Because, and then if he gets a title fight within the next year, 18 months, he's 21 years old, 22. There's a lot of these cats at 135 that are coming. They are coming, and they're not going to give him an easy way out. So as much as I like the young buck, I want to see him fight better competition. I just don't think upstairs he's ready for. I'd love to see him fight Lomo. Still don't know if he's ready for all the tricks Lomo has. You know what I mean? But I'd like to see him fight a top 15 guy like himself and then go from there and see where he stands.
It's going to be fun, whoever he fights, man. He's fun to watch. So
yeah. Josh Padley, though, he earned a contract after his fight against, was it Shakur? Mm-hmm. Was that who he fought? So I don't think Padley's strong. Padley hasn't been doing this full time much because remember he was an electrician or something half the time when he, half his time. Yeah. So having said that, I wouldn't mind. I take that back. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Padley. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Padley. I think that there's a ranking with it. I think that might be okay with that. I'd like to see that one.
Yeah, I could see that one too. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about him though. Actually, yeah, but yeah.
Me neither. Now, here's the thing, and I don't even know which ranking it was to be honest with you, but I saw Padley in a top 10, which wasn't really sure how, but he was in one. But I don't think Padley is a top 10 guy. However, Padley could have done himself some service to call out the young buck. Even though Mason is hot, Padley, you just won a contract and earned fans by the way you fought Shakur. You know what I mean? So call out this young buck. If you lose to this young buck, now you're going to be relegated to a gatekeeper, Padley, to be honest with you. But before this, nobody was really working hard and jockeying for Padley anyway. Nobody's saying I want Padley on my record. Nobody was looking for him to gain much. So on a business move and what he could have made, I think it might have been okay. Not even saying a business move, but he might have been able to get that been a decent name for him to go against Mason. Mason's young and upcoming. I'd like that. You know what? I'd like to see that. I go with that because Padley is a name. He's a bigger name to me than Mason. He's not hotter than Mason, but he's a bigger name, been doing it longer.
Yeah.
And that may be the name that Mason needs to put him to get him in a serious title talk.
Yeah, I like it, man. That'd be cool.
I think it'd be all right.
We might see it. All right, always great talking combat sports. It's you, Chop, especially boxing. That's my heart. But everybody, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button. We have content every week, and we look forward to hearing from you in the comments. And then don't forget to catch us on Roku for the ESEN network. So for Chops, I'm Drew. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next week.
Thank you for watching the Haymakers and Submissions podcast. You can find us on the ESEN network on the Roku app every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time beginning on October 4th, 2024. Check us out on Twitter X. Our handle is @HaySubPod, capital H, capital S, capital P. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single episode. Just go to your web browser and type in www.youtube.com/@Haymakers and Submissions podcast, as we will drop content weekly. Whether it's boxing, MMA, or wrestling that gets you fired up, you'll get all you need right here at the Haymakers and Submissions podcast.